Burning Man is a city in the middle of nowhere. It is a city just like any city you would ever see. It has a 911 dispatch center in case there's emergencies. It has an airport. It has zoning for party life and for family life. It is smaller than San Francisco. It's 5 miles around, and it has been in existence for 28 years in the middle of nowhere. This is the Black Rock Desert. It's 40 miles long and 7 miles wide, and you can see what that little symbol is, where we sort of tuck ourselves into it. We rent the land from the Bureau of Land Management. So it takes 2 weeks to set the city up. It lives for 8 days, and it takes 2 weeks to tear the city down. During that time period, that 8 days, it's the 7th largest city in Nevada. Interesting thing about it is it's a pack it in, pack it out event. You can't buy anything there. You have to bring it all yourself. It's also a DIY event. All we do is set up the city infrastructure, and we let people come in and provide the content. Now, the content that we've been able to create over the years has grown into something quite different than your average city. We build this city to allow our culture to really flourish, and it's actually flourishing around the globe at this particular time. We've sort of turned many of the things about a regular city up on their ear, and we have a different paradigm that we work with. It's really a paradigm shift. We consider ourselves to be a permission engine. We like to say yes rather than no. Yes, you can climb on that art. In fact, why don't you help us make that art? We try to make as few rules as possible, and the rules we do make are for the highest common denominator, not the lowest common denominator. So we expect people to think and to be responsible for themselves. We value things a little differently than other cities do. We value your contribution more than your status or more than your celebrity. We value creativity and ingenuity more than we do money or the pursuit of money. People come for the art, or let's face it, people come for the party, or we like to call it a celebration. But what people get is a community. And hopefully, for some people, what they take away is a little bit of a transformation, or for many people, a large transformation, sort of a reset on their life. And they come back and become better citizens in their own community, prepared to change the way they interact with others, down to simple things like just taking care of their own garbage. One of the really transformative qualities about our city is that it's temporary, and that things burn there. Something that you just watched go up in 8 days and people spent all year building will be gone in 10 minutes. And it really makes you think about what's important and what's relevant and where you fit into the larger scheme of things. I'm showing this slide now of the Wired magazine back in 1996 because we're in San Francisco, and Burning Man was born out of San Francisco, even though it's global now. And this particular magazine cover changed a lot of our history. When this came out, we grew from 5,000 people to 10,000, then 10 to 20, and 20 to 40 in the next 3 years. We started to slow down again at 50,000, but this article actually hit the sort of person that would want to come to our event that didn't know about it because they weren't part of our elite little underground art scene. That's where it came out of. And I'll tell you, my little underground art scene that I was involved in was never the same. And it wasn't because of Wired magazine. What I think it really was technology hitting the world in our everyday lives at the same time that we were creating Burning Man, which is really asking you to sort of look at yourself and become part of where you are right now, not because somebody told you how to do it, why you should be doing it, what you should be wearing to be doing it, or how much money you should be making to do it, but doing it because you want to. So I believe that there's a kindred spirit between the kind of creative community that happens to to be at Burning Man, and that exists out there in the world of technology. I believe it still exists and is really important to where we are right now. And I don't think we've considered it well enough right now. I think somebody in this room perhaps might even want to write a book on it. I don't have time, but it's a fascinating topic. This particular piece is interactive in that it takes enough people pounding on the drums to make the zoetrope spin, to see the ape swinging limb to limb from a tree branch and eating the apple that's attached to the snake that he eats as he goes down. And this would not happen without enough people working together to make it happen. It's interactive. And our definition of interactivity, I think, was formed a lot by that time in the late 80s, the beginning of the 90s, when technology hit our community, our creative community. And why? What is it about that that made this happen? I think that both those communities, those creative communities, really enjoyed a good fight. They're frontier people. They want to see the blank canvas and do something with it. They're not afraid of a challenge. They think that anything's possible. And yeah, you're going to stumble, you're going to fall, you're going to make mistakes, but you get up and you try it again, and something beautiful is going to come out of it. I think that's what's driving our technology at its purest forms, and that's what's driving this creative, inspirational community that's gathered around this small city in the desert. Now, technology always hasn't played the fanciest roles of what you see at Burning Man. A lot of the pictures you see are like the highlights, the best. And technology is hard to do out there. So these things are fun, and they're engaging. Like this is, that game you play, Dance Dance Simulation, where you do the dance steps. Well, when you get it wrong, flamethrowers come up all around you, and you have to wear fire retardant suits so you don't get burned by it. So it's fun, it's inventive, it's scary, it puts you out on your edge, it makes you consider your own mortality at times. But it's an important challenge. Recently, this piece is about 4 years old, and this was a really successful integration of art and technology. It takes 3 people who are operating independently at different places around this piece called the scissor grid, and you all have to be working in unison, but independently, to make this piece spin, to change colors, and to produce music. It was quite an accomplishment, all crowdsourced, and made by a community of people who were working together as non-working artists for the first time. I like to share this piece because, again, we're talking about urbanism, and this is a very urban piece. These people came out from Brooklyn. They'd never been to Burning Man before, and they brought their subway trains with them through technology. And you could pick up a canister and do your own graffiti on the side of the train, which is, of course, digital, and walk by 3 hours later and maybe see your train go by with your graffiti on the side of it. It actually ran for maybe, out of the 8 days, maybe a couple hours, which is typical. Great ideas poorly executed is very typical out there. And the reason is they hauled this stuff in a van all the way across the country, their little circuit boards, and they had to set it up in a dust storm. And they'd never been there before. Now, the elements there are intense. It's alkaline. It's fine dust that's alkaline. And it eats away at anything rubber. It eats away at anything that has involves circuitry or anything electronic. So this is a beautiful photograph you're looking at, but the intensity of the dust down below is something to be prepared for. And at certain times, for sometimes days on end, you can't literally see your hand out in front of your face. This is after I escaped a dust storm and took a picture looking back into it. And there's thousands of people inside there right now. So this is a community of people that have a lot of ingenuity, a lot of perseverance. Without wanting to take a risk and without wanting to persevere, you're not going to cut it there. To me, it brings these communities together in such a way that they innovate. This innocent-looking, gorgeous art car, you can drive around in it, actually had some technology inside it that was so interesting that it got picked up by NASA. And I know other groups that have some of their innovations that they just did for the desert, for themselves, because they thought they could do it and they wanted to prove they could, end up serving disaster relief communities, food storage, and refugee camps. So it brings people together. It's a community of people that are maybe not artists, and oftentimes not artists, maybe working with an artist, who take pride in what they're doing, become united in what they're doing, become so excited by what they've done they want to share it. And you see on YouTube all these different ways that you can make what they've made. They're sharing openly, like open source, right? All that technology buzz around open source, how important that is to where we are right now, how important that is. It's the same kind of physical manifestation you're seeing here at Burning Man. It's a community of sharing. So how do we pull this off? After 28 years, how come it hasn't been dumbed down? How come it hasn't been turned into something we never wanted it to be? It's a really big challenge. But these 10 principles are what have kept us on course. They're not dogma, they're not rules. They're ways to check yourself, to check the people you're working with. They're ways to have an immediate vocabulary with somebody else and know you're on the same page. And it's a way to really to have a reference point moving forward. We also couldn't have had Burning Man continue as it has without an awesome city design. I mean, something that was so particularly done for the nature of what we do. You'll notice that all those radial streets all point into the center point where the city is made from, and that's where the man sits. So as you're walking through the city, which is the horseshoe shape, you're looking at the man everywhere you go, constantly reminded subtly that you're at Burning Man until Saturday night when it burns, and that reference point is gone. You also know that when you walk into that center area that's not the city, the open portion of the inside of the horseshoe, that you're in your plaza. It belongs to you. That's a piazza in Italy. That's, a tool that humans have been using forever to make people feel like they have ownership when they belong. And the man stands in the center of it. And then there's a vista to the open playa 40 miles in front of you to keep your mind open and to keep you feeling creative and not closed in. The city design has been really amazing at keeping us focused on what we are, that pop-up city. That city design fits 70,000 people. But try as we might to contain it, like viral technology, like those YouTube videos you see that go viral, we've gone viral. We're now, we have 250 people around the globe that represent us. We have over 60 sanctioned events. Last week we had our first event in China. 250 people gathered to burn their piece in China. The week before we had our second event in Israel. 2,000 people gathered. Palestine's coming close behind. I'm not sure where this is, but this is some small event someplace. This is South Africa. I was there earlier this year. Their event has grown beautifully in the 8 short years. It's gone from 2,000 people to 10,000 people. And this is their city layout. They've taken all open source. They've taken all of our tools, all of our knowledge, and applied it to themselves in their way with their country in South Africa. And this is Second Life. So this is your virtual Burning Man. Every year you can go there and you can get trained to become a ranger, the same ranger training we give you in the physical world. And you can go and be an artist and create things, and the man burns. So how does this humble little pop-up city that we have created, just a bunch of 5 or 6 artists got together and thought it was a good idea, and it's grown into this global impact, really. It's way bigger than any of us ever expected it to be. I think a lot of its successes really are rooted in a spirit that we all share, a spirit that you see in a lot of innovators, either creative people in general, and you see it really strongly these days in the tech community. And the impact is continuing to grow. We're really just trying to keep up with it. So I think I probably have a minute left for questions. I don't know if anybody has the time. I have 3 minutes left. Would anybody like to ask any questions? Yes. So I think I heard the question. We have such a global community that's growing so much, and yet our tickets, we don't have enough tickets to go around for our event, so how are we dealing with that? The federal government has capped our event, so we can only sell so many tickets. But the beauty of that is, we know how to do this event in the desert. It's fabulous, and you should go if you'd like to, but you don't have to. It's happening all around the world. You can go someplace else. And what happened was the year that we sold out, 3 other events around the world sold out. And so we're seeing the movement move to people's local communities. You don't have to come to San Francisco. You can do it in your own community. Okay. So So I think I have to finish up. So thank you very much. I'd be happy to talk to you afterwards. Thank you.